Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Deep Cut Dive. We've got in the co-captain's chair today, back at the treehouse, Mr. Jeff Young. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Pete Pardo, the man with the proggy plan. Cheers
That's right.
to you. I just want to make note of the glass says, I don't give a sip, people. A sip.
Not at all. Not at all. Good to see you brought all your friends with you, Jeff. I see all sorts of six-string friends hanging around.
The gang's all here, Mr. Pardo. You were asking about the blue Dying from Hell. It's in the closet. I don't have enough stands. The V's actually just leaning on the wall just there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just noticed that he was missing, or she was missing. Sorry, I don't want to,
Had stellar results in Dayton. Looking forward to telling you about what the trouble the V and me got into before I left there. End of the show.
Okay, sounds good. So we're talking about Yes today.
Digress to Yes.
Digress to Yes. So originally, so Jeff and I were talking about doing this deep cut dive on Yes a couple weeks ago, and I was thinking, I'm like, man, it's like it's a difficult band to probably do this with because they have a couple of their hit singles, but they don't have a million albums, and most of their, especially early in their career, their songs are kind of long, so a bunch of their albums don't have a ton of songs on them. So deep tracks for this band is like you technically could say there's a lot of deep tracks, but then they've got the classic live albums and they've got multiple hits collections, and some of these songs they play live all the time. So this was a little kind of difficult, and I actually had my list set in stone, and then I literally, right before Jeff and I hooked up on Zoom, I swapped one out at the last minute because I was going to pull the CDs, and I saw another album. I'm like, I have to include something from that album. So I got a little switcheroo, and I'll let you know which was the song that I pulled out of my list at the end. So as always, I'll let Jeff go first, let our guest go first, and curious to see what he comes up with here. But he's got the clipboard, right? So studying it well.
Clipboard is back. I'm deciding which way to go, Mr. Pardo. I'll just go this way. How about I wanted to start with this tune. It has a really cool gait to it. The tempo reminds me of the canter of a horse. It's a song from the Yes album. I guess that's an appropriate place to start, Yes?
Sure.
The song is called A Venture.
That's a very good choice.
Is that deep enough?
It is. I'm not going to say any more.
Uh-oh.
At least not yet. No, A Venture is cool because that's... Checkmate, right? Exactly.
But you know what I'm saying about the tempo? It has that kind of...
It's more of it's got like a lot of jazz influence to it, that song. And, you got the Tony K piano. It's very different from everything else on that album.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also pretty short. I mean, for a band not really known for short songs. I mean, what's it, like 3 minutes and 15 seconds or something like that? It's barely over 3 minutes. So that's a great choice. That's a good choice.
Not sure they were going for a hit single with that. My cover is slightly different.
For Time and a Word? Yeah.
No. Sorry. I thought you were.
Oh, yeah. No, you're talking about this one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
That's coming. That's coming. So my first choice is from Time and a Word from 1970, a song called The Prophet. So I admittedly, over the years, I don't really pay a hell of a lot of attention to the first two Yes albums. I like them. They're good for what they are. But for me, like the real Yes kind of started with this album. But I wanted to pick something from one of those first two albums. And I've always really liked The Prophet on here. It's got this great roaring Hammond organ from Tony K, who is a fine Hammond organ player. And I think a lot of the kind of Yes characteristics that we would start to see starting with the next album, the Yes album, going forward, are starting to surface, especially in this song. You got Squire and Bruford just absolutely working overtime on the bass and drums. You got soaring John Anderson vocals. I think it's a fine song. And again, like I said, The Prophet for me kind of signaled the Yes we would know and love going forward. This was a band kind of in transition because, Peter Banks would be gone from the band before you know it. In comes Steve Howe. And then, you know, a couple of years later, Tony Kaye is gone and comes Rick Wakeman. So I think, you know, the formation of Yes is here. Prophet is a very cool song. I don't know if they played it live much at all. And it's, like I said, it's kind of like one of those forgotten songs on early in the catalog. So that's my number one choice there. Back to you.
Well, this is an installment of SOT that's really close to my heart because the nostalgia factor is high with this band. When I graduated from like the Beatles 65 album and the Partridge Family and Bobby Sherman to actual rock and roll, the first thing I started really getting into, and it was kind of like collecting baseball cards at that age, was I was crazy about buying 45s. And I had a ton of them. And the two that stick out in my mind that were like the hottest tracks that came out right around the same time was Zeppelin's Black Dog. I had that on 45. And Roundabout by Yes, All Fragile. So this band goes all the way back, and Steve Howe, of course. I think of him a lot like Steve Morse as far as an overall guitar player, covering many different genres. And he was the first guy to really introduce me in a rock and roll setting, a guitarist playing a jazz box, doing country licks, classical licks, even before Randy and Eddie, right? You know, there was a band in Dayton here in Kettering called Legacy back in the day, in my cover band days. And I was always jealous because they would do the Yes and all the proggy stuff, and the cats in my band couldn't play that stuff. I wanted to go kick out their guitar player and join that band, but and I got to see him a few times. Besides this tour, we both saw this tour, which was one of the last it was the last tour with Chris Squire. So I got to see one of his last gigs. And Steve Howe's tone, we always talk about the Kansas show at the Beacon Theater this past Christmas, as far as audiophile quality, concert setting sound. And this show was right up there. And I remember Steve Howe was playing a Line 6 amp. And I kept looking at the Line 6 amp and listening to the sound, looking at that Line 6. I can't believe he's getting all these tones out of a Line 6 amp. It's great. But I wanted to go to the Drama album. And I think, you know, again, for the casual listener, and the reason I brought up Roundabout, and we could name a few other, I've seen All Good People, the songs that you hear on classic radio, right? And there's only a few of them. So to the casual listener, and that's who we're reaching out to, because I would guess the Yes aficionados know most. Yes fans are like Rush fans. We're rabid, right?
Yeah.
And we know every song. But if we were to introduce some tunes to people who only were skating the surface with Yes, and I went to the Drama album, to the tracks that starts out with the military snare, very regal sounding, Into the Lens. I play that on the radio show all the time.
Great song. Great song by probably their most underrated album. A weird album when you think about the history of Yes, excuse me, but a fantastic album that I think gets better and better with age. I loved the album when it came out. I know some Yes fans, diehards, were like on the fence about it or didn't like it because of no John Anderson, no Rick Wakeman. But I think, you know, listening back on that album now, it's great. And that's a fantastic
production.
Song. Absolutely.
Very, I'm going to be talking a lot about their production, because that's one of the coolest things about their studio albums is the ambience, or the aura of it's not just the room sound, it's how the whole album comes off. Yeah. And that one, it's very clean. It's very much like John Anderson, right?
Yep.
Very immaculate production.
So did you have that LP back in the day when it first came out?
No, I'm one of the guys that got into drama more recently. Yeah.
The only reason why I asked, because I remember back when that album was released, I had the LP, and in the inside of the album, you know, you open it up and what have you, and they actually listed like all of the guitars that Steve Howe played on every single track. And it was, I remember being like a kid listening to all the songs. And, you know, again, I was just starting playing guitar at the time, so it's not like I was very knowledgeable, but interesting trying to, so you're reading, so he's playing a Telecaster on that song, he's playing a Les Paul on that song, he's playing a 335 on that song, Strat on that song, and trying to actually listen to hear the subtle differences in the guitar tones, because, you know, in most cases, most players would never go to that level of detail to tell you exactly which guitars.
I love that.
Right? Isn't it cool? Right? So, and then that kind of got me started to thinking more along the lines of, you know, different guitar sounds and things like that. So pretty cool. All right, so my number 2 originally was A Venture, just like Jeff was number 1. So I think what I'm going to do, rather than do a double, I mentioned that I did a quick switcheroo at the beginning, right before we went on air. And so I'm going to put back in my original number 3 track here, my selection, which is from the Going for the One album from 1977. And it's a song called Parallels. And I know some may argue it's not quite deep enough because it was on the Yes Shows album and they did play it live on that tour, but they never played it again, maybe until I think they pulled it out recently on one of the more recent tours. But I think a very cool song. It's always been one of my favorites from Going for the One. Actually, if you go back and do a little research on this, that song was actually made up of pieces of a couple songs that Chris Squire was working on for his Fish Out of Water solo album that he felt kind of like didn't really fit the kind of the musical themes of that album. So he kind of brought it back to the Yes guys. They kind of pieced it all together and created a song out of it. It's got that cool church organ. It's got some ripping lead guitars from Howe, catchy chorus, the big bass grooves. You know, like I said, played live on that tour, included on Yes Shows, but then just basically disappeared forever until the more recent years when the current incarnation of the band kind of pulled it out and did you know, the Going for the One tours and full album shows and things like that. So there you have it. Parallels came out of my list, came back in my list to replace A Venture, but I do want to say A Venture, a very cool song, the forgotten little gem from the Yes album. Very jazzy, got cool piano, and another song never played live until more recently by the current band.
Cool.
So back to you.
All right, buddy. Well, I've got an honorable mention from that album, and that's a big tour for me when I saw them on the Going for the One.
Oh, lucky you. Gee.
With my cousin, Holly, at Riverfront Coliseum, same venue in Cincinnati where the epic Who tragedy happened. And I actually saw the concert right before the Who, literally weeks, was Led Zeppelin on the Song Remains the Same tour. And they were wearing all the same clothes from the movie. But I did see Yes on the Going for the One tour. I got a honorable mention. I got just one honorable mention today from Going for the One. But back to number 3 for me, from the oddly named album Key Studio. I'm not real big on that album title, but I'm big on the instrumental track. You know where I'm heading?
I do.
I'm big on the instrumental stuff lately, Pete. Skin Language.
Yep.
Is it
Sign language.
What?
Yeah. All those tracks are really good.
And it morphs, and
all those tracks are really good. Yeah, I can't argue with that at all. I mean, it's just, Footprints, Sign Language, Be the One. I won't say too much more because we might see another track from that album coming up soon.
See? We're on the same wavelength.
Well, that was my last minute choice here because like I said, I was pulling my other ones and then I saw it sitting on my shelf and I'm like, oh crap, how can I not include something from Key Studio? So there you have it. So that's a good choice. All right, so moving right along. How about some Tormato action here? Kind of a little maligned album, and admittedly not one of my absolute favorite Yes albums. Although I do like it. I think it's pretty quirky. It's a little different. I think it probably signals a band that was going through a lot of problems from within. But there are some standout tracks on here, and always my favorite song from this album is actually the very last song on the album. So it's pretty damn deep. It's On the Silent Wings of Freedom. One of the things I like so much about this song is, for me, it almost seems like a leftover from the Relayer period, because it's kind of got that fusion-y thing going on. It's got, Squire is all over the place with those acrobatic bass lines. It's got, Howe is still doing that speed-o-light, jazzy rock guitar solo thing, which he was doing quite a bit on Relayer. Really adventurous song, nearly 8 minutes long. I think it's still catchy too as well. That's always been my favorite song from this particular album. There's a couple other ones that I almost chose to, but I won't say any more because I have this distinct feeling Jeff is going to pull something out from this album. So I'll shut up there.
Juggle. I'll have to juggle now, and I'll flip flop, and I'll offer up my pick from Tormato.
Okay.
I love that record, and that production, it's super stark. It sounds like you could be in Antarctica, or at least the picture they paint of Antarctica, or when they're singing Don't Kill the Whale.
Great.
You could be out on the boat. It's very, very cool production. I think the album's underrated, and I was going to offer up the old time rock and roll chords are really cool. It's got a little bit of a Chuck Berry vibe in there. Meets Prague, It's called Release, Release.
That was my other choice. That was the one I originally was going to go with, and then I was like, I got to pick it.
It does have that good old time rock and roll thing. That's a pretty cool fusion how they did that on that track.
Yeah. And the chorus is great on that song.
You got to hand it to him.
Yep.
And I love the production of that record.
It's quirky. It's a different sounding Yes album. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's definitely quirky. Some people love the production. Some people don't. I never minded the production of the album. For me, I think that there's half of it. The songs are really great. The other half of the songs are just a little kind of weird for Yes, but I don't dislike the album. It's not one of my favorites, but I think that the songs on there that I really like a lot. And we just talked about two of them. So I had a feeling you were going to choose something from Tormato. That's why I was trying to be very, very picky with my choice.
Killed the radio star, buddy.
Yeah, right. All right, where are we here? All right, so I'm gonna go to the drama album too for my next choice, for a song called "Run Through the Light."
Yeah.
I asked my love to give me shelter. And again, I'm going to go back to on the LP where Steve talks about every song, which guitars he played. So this is one of the few times in the history of Yes that I know of where he actually plays an actual Gibson Les Paul standard. Because normally he goes for the semi-hollow body or hollow body guitars, right? That's like his trademark. So, and you can totally tell by listening to this, it's got absolutely scorching lead guitars, very different for him. And you can totally tell it's a Les Paul. You got Trevor Horn actually playing fretless bass on this song. Chris Squire's actually not playing bass on here. He's like singing backup vocals. You got spacey synths from Jeff Downs. It's a catchy song. It's very atmospheric. They played it live more recently in the band when they did the full album shows, the drama, but not played back in the drama days. And interesting enough, I was reading up on this, and Trevor Horn, who was the vocalist at the time and also a famous producer and what have you, he actually did not want to play bass on this track. And he was very unhappy with his bass playing on this song. And I always thought that those fretless grooves that he was doing on song were absolutely tremendous. So for a guy that was like, I mean, maybe he's just very critical of himself, but he just wanted, Squire to do it. But man, I always love when you, I mean, you know, you're a musician, right? That how many times have you put something down that you maybe weren't that happy with and people think it's like the greatest thing ever? It's like, because it's all depends on how you hear it. And I know we're all more critical of ourselves than others are. So, but anyway, just a great song and always one of my favorites from the Drama album. Run Through the Lights.
Killer. Underrated, yes, people. That's a
right.
great album. I'd say Tormato and Drama and Going for the One are albums that people should definitely dive deep into.
Yeah, well, because everybody pays attention to the ones that came before it, right? So yeah, I absolutely agree.
I'm going to go to the Relayer album, compadre. My buddy in Florida, his name was Sean. He always used to go surfing in Costa Rica, and he was pals with Patrick Moraz. Like really good pals with him.
Wow.
They jammed together and stuff before he was in Yes, and I think after as well. But I gotta pick out the mostly instrumental Sound Chaser.
Yeah, I wanted to pick that.
That's like a laser show, you know, like a Friday night laser show.
Yeah.
Yes, the Relayer album. And aren't they performing that in its entirety now? Or
Yeah, they're going to be once they can get back on the road. Yeah.
that I want to see, right?
Yeah. You know what? Anything, well, I shouldn't say anything because Gates of Delirium, you really can't, I couldn't pick because they've played that live a bit over the years. But Sound Chaser, yeah, why didn't I pick that? Because Sound Chaser, I don't think they've ever played that again since, you know, maybe they've done a Relayer show here and there, but I think, you know, other than playing it on that tour, I mean, that's has not surfaced at all. That's absolutely a deep cut. And you could totally tell that the band was listening to like Mahavishnu Orchestra and Return to Forever at the time. They had to have been, because that's kind of like their jazz fusion album with John Anderson vocals on it, right? It's just crazy. But Sound Chase was amazing.
And
easily a
album
top
cover,
5 song. Oh, the album cover is amazing.
It's one of the best album covers.
Yeah, Roger Dean outdid himself on that. That's a great song. And for my money, that song probably has my favorite guitar soloing from Steve Howe on any song.
Wow.
It's just incredible.
Bold statement.
Yeah, I know. And, you know, there's a lot of great Steve Howe guitar solos, right? But I don't know. I just, especially that like middle break where everybody stops and he's just and he's throwing in all those country licks and all this kind of crazy stuff. Amazing. So there's another great album you got right there.
I love This Is So Nostalgia.
Yeah, and that's a well-traveled record there.
There's The Fish.
Yep.
All right. I have the program from this tour.
That's amazing.
Wicked.
Yeah, that's also one of Roger's best works right there. Yep.
And my honorable mention, I was listening in the shower, the track Going for the One. Maybe it's because I'm in a pedal steel guitar kind of way right now, but
that's a very different song for them.
Everybody's got to go listen to that tune.
Yeah.
Especially if you like some good pedal steel guitar. And then check out JY's new single, Slow Burn, dropping 8/7, buddies.
There you go.
Pals, amigos.
All right, so my last choice. Let's go to Keys to Ascension, the song is actually from Keys to Ascension 1, which is a live album. They added a couple of studio tracks at the end, but they put all the Keys to Ascension studio tracks together on this wonderful release called Keys Studio. I went with Mind Drive, which is would
have been my other pick.
Right, yeah. I mean, you could pick anything from here. Was another, you know, possibility for me, but I went with Mind Drive. It's my favorite of all of them. I mean, what's amazing to me, well, first of all, the song itself is classic, epic. Yes, it's a long song. It's got those kind of snake-like guitar solos from Howe, plenty of Wakeman grandiosity, Anderson storytelling. The song rocks too. It's proggy. What I don't understand is, so they did these 2 Keys to Ascension live albums, you know, like back to back over the span of a couple of years in the late 90s, and you know, they tacked on these new studio songs, which are terrific and probably the best things that they had recorded since Tormato, at least, as far as like being, you know, classic Yes sounding. and then they haven't been able to do anything like it since. It's amazing you listen to all these songs on here and to think that they can't even come a fraction of, the superbness of, because they've released how many albums since then? I mean, she's like 5 studio albums, 6, I've lost track. And like, there's nothing on any of those albums that even remotely resembles the greatness of and granted, this is the classic lineup. I get all that, but I don't know. Just, I don't get it. Because this stuff is fantastic. Fantastic. So Mind Drive is my last choice.
Band chemistry, it's a very delicate
yeah,
ever.
I guess. I guess if you throw Wakeman out of the equation, it's not quite the same. If you don't have, well, everybody else has been here, right? Because Anderson now is not in the band anymore. But even those last couple albums with John Anderson, for my money, like Open Your Eyes and The Ladder and Magnification, I'm just not much into them. I don't know. But this stuff is just fantastic. I don't know.
Pete's given a big no to recent yes.
I mean, I don't hate it. I just find it lacking. It just doesn't. It's just, I don't know, because I listened to, God, the last, like I did a rant with a couple guys last night, and I shit all over Open Your Eyes, but I don't like that album. I don't really like The Ladder. I don't like Down to Earth. I don't like Magnification. That's like, I don't hate them, but I don't know. It's just not the yes I want to hear. And I listen to this stuff, and I'm like, this is the stuff, and it's not that long. Well, I mean, granted, it's 20 years ago, 25 years ago or whatever, but still, I mean, you would think that they have at least 50% of what they put into this that they could do today. I don't know. I don't know. It's frustrating.
I like that singer though on this tour. He did good.
You know what? John is fine. I really like John as a singer a lot. I mean, he used to sing with Glass Hammer. He was great with them. I don't think the problem is him. He's a really good singer. He sounds a lot like John Anderson. Obviously they got to go for that sound. I find the band just kind of like, I don't know. They're just like writing very straightforward, stuff that just doesn't really interest me much. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way.
Slightly neutered in their old age.
I guess, and I know it's hard for these older bands to recapture the old magic. I get it, but man, when bands like Uriah Heep and Deep Purple and Saxon and Judas Priest and all these other older bands can still put out, new albums that sound kick at Kansas, for crying out loud, right? If Kansas can go, and maybe we need some new blood, and yes, maybe that's what it comes. But we do have some new blood. You got Billy Sherwood on bass. You got John Davison on vocals. You got, Alan White is kind of semi-retired now. Chris Squire's gone, obviously. May he rest in peace. Steve Howe, maybe Steve. I don't know. It seems like their music just is like lacking motivation. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I've tried. I'm really trying to like their more new recent output. I just don't. Oh well. Anyway, that's not what this conversation was supposed to be all about. Yeah, so it's here. So hopefully everybody likes these deep cuts that Jeff and I threw out today. We got quite a few good ones, and if you haven't heard them, and all you really know is Roundabout, Seen All Good People, Owner of a Lonely Heart, and maybe some of their more classic 70s songs. Here's some stuff a little bit off the beaten path that hopefully you'll dig. And if you're a big Yes fan and you got some other deep cuts that you want to recommend to the casual fans, that's what this is all about. So please do so in the comments below. Jeff, you got to plug something here, right? Talk a little bit more about the music.
My new single is coming. What's the date today? How many days away are we?
Today is the 4th, so you're right at the end of the week, right?
Yep. New Music Friday. New Deep Purple comes out.
That's right.
Whoosh.
That's right.
And my single, Slow Burn, my link for all my tracks, In the Flesh. Got a new instrumental, maybe some people missed with all the craziness going on out there. jeffyoungsongs.com is the link. Got a radio show tonight, jeffyoungjams.com, and every Tuesday night, live from Babylon, New York, live from the Treehouse, Music Without Boundaries. If you like We play everything from the 20s to the 2000s, every genre. We're kind of light on the polkas around here, but other than that, we might even play some Yes tonight. No?
There you go. Cool. Sounds good. And you got you have another new song you're working on, right? You want to give a
that's
little.
what I mentioned, the V. It's I'm gonna have to head back to Dayton to throw the solos down, but you heard I got this huge rhythm track out of the Flying V with just messing with mic techniques, no EQ. It's in drop C tuning, so that's like the whole guitar step down, and then the low E string another step down, and it's pretty pumping. It's called Wave Rider, so it's a kind of surfy, like if you dig Badlands. You heard a little Satriani just in the rhythm track. You go like,
I totally did. Yeah.
Fans are gonna love this, right?
Yeah, I totally did. Yeah.
So it's a little swampy, you know. Alice in Chains. I was listening to a lot of Alice in Chains Dirt when I wrote it. Some Soundgarden, so it's got that detune vibe, but it's something different and it's instrumental. So I think it's going to turn out cool. And I got a brand new Jerry Cantrell wah wah. You know, I think if it's a surfy tune, it's got to have some wah wah on it.
Hey, nothing wrong with some wah wah. I'm a big fan. So
I'm going to see why Kirk Hammond is so enamored.
There you go. So that's so look for finished Wave Rider over the next couple of months.
Within hopefully a month.
Cool. All right. So right around time for school to begin. This
whole lockdown's been a prolific time for me.
Yeah. Well, take advantage, right? So
you can always turn lemons into lemonade, people.
That's right.
It's a lot of upside. I was thinking, all the people in the face mask, I was thinking, man, I didn't really want to hear from those people anyway. So I was just riding my bike yesterday and everyone was in the mask. I was like, but it's beautiful out here and the weather, it's not sunny, but it was sunny yesterday, and I think it's going to be sunny the rest of the week. So
yeah, I think today.
I think on the bike, buddy.
Yeah, I saw. Well, you had a good day for yesterday because it wasn't quite as humid as it has been. Today, we're getting the after effects of that tropical storm.
Great cycling area around here. I found this park down where I can go off and they're like share the road and very few cars and very beautiful, picturesque setting.
Yeah, and you rode by that famous bar and grill.
Listen to
some famous bar and grill.
Pardon?
I said you rode by that famous bar and grill.
Yeah, Dino's.
Dino's.
Is that the one?
I don't know.
I mean, I was always thinking it's in Ireland.
Who knows? I don't know.
Close enough, right? Dino's Bar and Grill.
Well, if you go in there and you see a picture of Phil Lynott on the wall, then you know that's
I didn't have my mask with me. I will next time.
Yeah, there you go. Cool.
Pop in and take a peek.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Deep Cut Dive and Yes with Mr. Jeff Young. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. So stay tuned. So Jeff is coming back over the next week. We got The Who we're working on and a little Chicago Deep Cut Dive, Terry Kath years.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be glorious.
Going to be glorious. So Jeff and I love talking about a little Terry Kath stuff. So stay tuned for that. And speaking of Terry Kath, the Pig Nose amp, there you go. Take it with you anywhere.
People know that, just as a teaser to get them to tune in for this and many more fun-filled facts, because we're both Terry Kath aficionados. He was a major investor in Pig Nose amps as the tax write-off, right? That's a very cool endeavor to get involved in, and they sound great, man. This thing still sounds great. And he did the coolest ad where he was like, looked like he was in an Italian restaurant, like the Godfather kind of vibe with the suit. Pig Nose amps, Terry Kath. And in the meantime, if they want to catch that, what's it called? What's the documentary his daughter did, Searching for Terry Kath?
Yeah, I forget what it's called. Very good documentary.
In search of, if you guys can catch that, she's actually looking for his Telecaster, the one that had all the pig nose stickers all over it. And in the process gets to know her father, who she didn't know at the end of the movie. Surprise who her husband is. I don't want to spoiler alert it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think she was what, 2 when he died?
Yeah.
So she really never got to know him.
Beautiful to see how she gets to know her father, and listening to the members of Chicago, like, and they're not holding back the tears when they start talking about the genius. And I love the scene when I think it's one of the horn players talks about when he saw his arrangements for one of their specific tunes. It was like he saw it all written out, and he realized, man, this guy's like levels beyond any of us.
Yeah.
Where's he pulling this stuff from, right? So looking forward to that show, Mr. Pardo.
Sounds good. So that's all coming up, guys. So what's that?
We're doing the Who.
Do you want to do the Who? Yeah, we'll do the Who.
I did want to do the Who.
Yeah, there you go.
Townsend.
Yes.
And I love Keith Moon on the sloppy drum kit.
Keith Moon was the best. Keith was the best. So everybody stay tuned for both of those shows coming up over the next week. And so for Jeff Young, I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you guys all later on. Have a good one. Jeff, thanks again. See you.
Ciao. Ciao for now.